The longest racetrack in the world has 176 corners and lap times above 8 minutes. Doing a fast lap around the Nurburgring Nordschleife is not easy in the slightest, and we're going to be doing it for 24 hours.
The scariest, sketchiest, most challenging race of the year is just around the corner. Drivers have put in hours upon hours of practice just to make sure they complete the race, let alone win it. We know the Nordschleife is not deprived of early crashes. Welcome to the 24 hours of the Nurburgring.
This is where it all counts. This is what the practice is going to do. Are you going to be strong enough to challenge for a victory?
It's race day for probably one of the toughest events of the year. The Nurburgring 24 hours is an absolute death trap. You know, it's such a hard track, and for 24 hours, absolutely insane. Now, I'm just sitting on the balcony, chilling a bit, because it's going to be such a long race, you know, a lot of hours indoors in the sim. So what I like to do on a day like this before is just, you know, chill out a bit, relax. Now the session goes up soon, in half an hour's time or so. I mean, I guess if we're ready for this, you know, it's just going to be a race of survival, really, that's it.
Qualifying is underway here at the spectacular Nordschleife.
Well, just remember, the drivers have got close to 200 corners to perfect before they can cross the line with a satisfying lap time.
Not only does the track have a lot of corners, but it also has a lot of very technical and difficult corner combinations. Low-speed corners like Siphon, where you're braking downhill while turning into what is essentially a blind apex, mixed with the high-speed sections of Flugplatz and Flanzgarten, make sure that not one corner is similar to any other ones in the track. Add 300 meters of elevation change and throw a jump in the mix, and you get the hardest track in the world to qualify on.
You can see Alex Gallen, the 198 BMW, pushing the limits of the car and the track, which is what you need to get a good starting position in these ultra-competitive races.
And Alex comes around the final corner. The time to beat is an 8:45. Can he do it? Can he take pole here at the Nürburgring? Yes, he can, as he crosses the line to take pole position with an 8:44.9.
Taking pole position is always a sigh of relief. It proves to you and the team that you're on pace and makes you that bit more confident going into the race. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter in a 24-hour race because the race is so long.
The cars are lining up on the grid with a focused mindset, knowing that in 24 hours' time, any one of them could cross the line first.
I was starting the car, so I made sure I was fully focused on the task ahead of me, which was first of all making it through the start cleanly, and second of all staying in the lead pack.
24 hours on the clock, the most cruel challenge of the year lies ahead of the drivers. Who is going to come out on top? Will it be the Apex car, or will it be one of the 11 other cars in GT4? We'll find out very soon as we go racing here at the Nürburgring. Marcus floors it and gets a good run on the rest of the field and into the first corner. Remember, the first laps are all about survival, and one small mistake could be crucial for the rest of the race.
This is where it all counts. This is what the practice has come down to. Are you going to be strong enough to challenge for a victory that will require focus, intense effort, and a whole lot of skill?
When the race starts, everything narrows down. It's like you go completely into your own world, and the focus is the highest LP through the entire race. I was mainly focused on taking it easy and making it through.
As that's an overtake being made for P2 right behind Marcus as they make their way towards the end of the first lap.
Since Nordschleife is the longest track in the world, it's only right that it has the longest straight too. However, this means that staying out in front is basically impossible if you have someone within the slipstream range, as they'll have a lot more speed at the end of the straight.
Marcus gets overtaken down the back straight, nothing to do for him as the BMW in P2 cruises straight past him into the lead of the race.
Contrary to what you might think, however, it's not actually the worst thing falling down to P2 or P3 at the start of the race, as it allows you to save more fuel and tires while being dragged along by the car ahead.
Marcus letting another car go and drops down to P3. Is it to save fuel or tyres, or is it just to make sure he remains calm and makes no mistakes?
Now, funnily enough, right after that slipstream overtake, he made a mistake, and that's where I realized I was doing the right thing by taking it easy. On top of that, I didn't see the biggest reason in battling in the early stages, as I knew our car would come alive later in the race, so I didn't mind falling down to P3 at the start of the race to make sure we made it through.
through. However, it seems like everyone else around me had a different mindset because they were pushing the car, battling and making more mistakes which could benefit us long term.
We're 3 laps into the race and the GT4s are already reaching a lapped car.
One of the things that also makes this race so difficult is the fact that you've got 5 different classes with a big difference in speed. You've got the fast GT3s that have big wings and a bunch of downforce to work with. You've got the Porsche Cup class, which has less grip than the GT3s. The GT4 class, which is the class that we're in. These cars don't have a lot of downforce, but they have a lot of mechanical grip, which makes them super fun and challenging to drive. Then you've got the TCRs that are slightly slower, and the GR86s, which is by far the slowest class with an almost 100 km/h top speed difference down the back straight. This makes the race a lot more dynamic, but also a lot harder.
Pass for the lead, heading into Tiergarten. Front of the field, swapping positions here at the start of the race.
As we see so often in GT racing, getting out in front and actually pulling out of the slipstream and away from the train is super difficult, but can anyone do it?
Yeah, that's the question we'll all be asking as we go side by side through one of the fastest corners on the track. Oh, a switchback from the BMW to stay in the lead. What an amazing race we've got going on here.
These guys, mate. Holy. Holy, these guys.
Another swap for the leaders coming down the back straight. Side by side as Marcus tries to follow in behind and move up to second position, but he backs out of it, probably with good cause, as that could have very well put him in the wall.
Some really great battling we've got going on here as we're approaching the first pit stop of the race. These guys are providing us with some great entertainment.
Running in a train is always quite tricky because you never really know who has saved more fuel or who has saved less. By the time the pit stops come around, it is basically turned into a chess game on 4 wheels as strategy has such a big say in who ends out ahead in the second stint. I hadn't been able to save too much fuel throughout the stint, which meant we might have a slight disadvantage at the pit stop.
Time for the first stop of the race as the whole field dives into pit lane for fuel and tyres. Who will come out ahead?
It looks like it's the number 20 car that previously was in P4 that will take the lead now from the Apex BMW emerging in P3.
From here on, the race would calm down a bit more, but the drama wasn't quite over yet. We were approaching the GR86 field at high speeds, and as we had predicted, something would almost have to go wrong due to the high closing speeds and due to the place we caught them. And that's where this happened.
Contact with one of the lapped cars just a couple of laps after taking the lead at the stop. It looks like they might unfortunately see the end for the number 20 BMW.
I think it's over for the dark car. I think they had a crash with one of the GRs. Oh, they have damage. They have a lot of damage. They're right in front of me. And they have, yeah, I'm going to overtake them.
As the race calmed down, we're sitting in P2 with the leader having pulled out a couple of seconds on us. However, as I mentioned early on in the race, our setup would really come alive when the track temperature dropped, so we just ran our own pace for now and made sure we made it cleanly through traffic.
The GT4 class currently running pretty calmly, with Marcus getting bump drafted by the 123 and keeping the train under control.
Throughout the second stint, the gap to the leader stayed basically the same, and I was working together with the 123 car in P3 to try and keep the train controlled so we wouldn't have battles losing us even more time to the leader. And as the second stop came around, it was time to change drivers. We emerged in P3 with a pole sitter Alex back in the car while the temperatures were dropping. Our pace was increasing and it was looking good.
Alex Gall making a move for P2 as the 198 is looking fast on the colder track temperature.
As good as the pace was looking, it would take another hour and 20 minutes for Alex to close up the 5-second gap that we now had to the leader. He was flying, but so was everyone else, and in a competitive split like this, it takes a good amount of effort to catch 5 seconds, but Alex managed to do it nonetheless, and with just over 24 hours to go, he managed to make this move.
The Apex BMW has been putting in some good consistent lap times and has now caught the 775 Porsche that has had the lead since around the second hour of the race. He's got the slipstream down the back straightaway, and it looks like Alex is going to cruise straight past the Porsche and back into the lead of the race.
We had taken back the lead, but if you look at it, we had only done 4 hours of a 24-hour endurance race, so we needed to keep our heads focused because we all knew that the night at Nordschleife was going to be the toughest part of the race.
The sun is setting here at the Nurburgring. The track is going to get very dark very soon. The corners will be harder to spot. The wall will be easier to find. And the Apex BMWs pulled out an 8-second lead as Marcus is back in the car for the first part of the darkness.
When it goes dark, everything feels faster as you can't see the surroundings. You get a sort of tunnel vision and you really get into your own world. I personally really like driving at night as there's just something magic about it even on the sim, and for my second stint I really got into a good flow and put in some good lap times, and I managed to pull an even bigger gap to the 775 Porsche that we had been battling all race.
Marcus coming to the end of his second stint in the lead. The gap to P2 now up to 16 seconds after 7 hours of racing. The infamous Nordschleife night, though, is upon us. Infamous for claiming victims that fail to stay focused lap after lap after lap.
Fortunately for us, we had an American in the team, which meant we were able to give him the night stints due to the time zone offset, and Alex and I could have some good rest through the night and be ready again in the morning.
Now Jordan Johnson from Ohio in the car, the man to take us through the first part of the night, and one of the BMW drivers to conquer the night at the Nurburgring.
On top of that, we had a teammate with an already messed up sleep schedule who volunteered to do the night as well.
Tiziano the Swiss jumps in the car as we reach midnight with 15 hours to go in the race. The gap now around 30 seconds of P2 with Tiziano absolutely pushing the car through the night.
I'll admit that Tizi scared me a couple of times as he was sending it around the track. I was trying to tell him to relax as we had a big gap and then we just needed to make it through the night. Fortunately enough, Jordan and Tizi had it under control for the nighttime stints, and it was time for me to head off and get some rest.
So we've just passed the halfway mark in the race. We're currently leading by like 15 seconds, which is not a lot, especially in a race like Nurburgring 24 where everything can basically happen. Now, I've done my last bit of driving for the night many hours ago, just chilling in the stream, but I've got a solid 5-6 hours to sleep on now, so I'm getting in the car again at 10:30 a.m. So I'm just gonna relax a bit until then, I guess.
The sun is rising at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. The daytime is starting to reveal the wear and tear on the cars. Sunday morning is upon us and less than half the race is left to go.
In the early morning hours, our main rival throughout the race, the 775 Porsche, had an accident and unfortunately had to retire due to having too much damage. That now meant that we had a 46-second gap to what was previously the car running in P3. We had done well through the nighttime hours, but no race is over before the finish line is crossed, and we still had a couple of hours to go when I made this mistake.
I think I did a little mistake. I forgot to go to the toilet before this, then. Which is a really like annoying thing to do. Well, I really need to go to the toilet.
Of all the mistakes I could have made in this race, this was the only one I had made, and I got to pay for it. For 40 minutes I had to hold it in until Alex could jump in the car, and after holding it in I finally got out of the car and left for my long awaited break. At this point the gap was more than a minute, and our only task was to stay consistent and stay on track, which hopefully wouldn't be a problem now that I had had my pee break. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, even pro sim racers make the most stupid mistakes.
Just over 20 hours completed here at the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, and the 198 car has been leading for the past 16. And if everything goes to plan, it should also be leading for the last 4 as well. But as we know with endurance racing, it isn't always the case. They've got to cross the line before it counts.
I think the last hours of a 24-hour race are the calmest ones. We've fought hard to get to where we are, we've pulled out a big gap through the night, and now everything left is to bring the car home safely and avoid putting it in the barriers. Our main advantage through the night was the consistency and the pace we had in the car on lower temperatures. No one was able to match our lap times, which is what put us in the position we were in at the end of the race.
Last driver swap as Alex gets out, Marcus gets into the car, hopefully to bring it across the line in first place in 2 hours' time.
As I said, these are the calmest stints. I was relaxed and there was no need to push.
It's the final lap of the race for Marcus. 8 minutes until they can all call themselves winners of the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring.
Alright. This will be final lap. Final lap of the race, baby.
You're typically quite exhausted after a 24-hour race, so not only are you excited to win, you're almost equally as excited to just finish the race and go off to relax. Because racing at the limit through all conditions at a track like the Green Hell for 24 hours is one of the toughest things you can do within sim racing. So to go on to the final lap with a 1.5 minute gap to P2 felt really good.
Coming through the final couple of corners, the Apex BMW took pole position, led for the past 20 hours of the race, and in a dominant display, they crossed the line to take the GT4 win here at the 24 hours of the Nurburgring.
Let's go, boys!
Let's go. Nice job.
Let's go. Well done, guys.
Let's go.
Good race.
That was good. That was down the point.
As I'm not normally a GT4 driver, taking home a win in this race felt super good. Even though it might only have been split 2, the strength of field was still 7.5k, and if it wasn't good enough, our sister team, the Apex 199 car, took home the top split GT4 win, so overall a great weekend for the team.
As much as it is just a game, for me it's so much more. My day sim racing is going to be something I'm going to be looking back at many years in the future, because you learn so much, not just racing wise, but about yourself. You know, you learn what keeps you motivated, you learn what you need to do with yourself to just push on that bit more, and you learn a lot about self-discipline, which is something you can use in so many other areas of life. Thanks to everyone who was involved and made this possible, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.